Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode in the leadership series. This time, we're going to look at learning before technology. My name is Dr. Paul Walton, and I thank you for joining us today as we go through a topic that's close to my heart. Being a computer science teacher myself, it's very exciting to go through this with you. So let's get started. Mainly, we're always going to look at learning first and not technology. We have a lot of options to use different technology, a raft of different devices, apps, websites, and different opportunities to integrate technology. But it's always coming back to learning first. So again, that's something that we're going to repeat and come back to through this presentation today. So I'm going to go through examples. I'm going to go through learning the tech plan. I'm going to go through 5 different points of using technology, and then also talking through how we started with overseas schools, looking into research-based use of technology for learning. So again, going back over 12 years ago, I think a lot have changed since then. I started off in a leadership role, obviously in the UK, went overseas in a leadership role and was heavily involved in the use of technology across many schools internationally. It's something that I've kept up and still in touch with lots of people to give them advice on learning first and then the technology that they can use to really transform and enhance the learning experiences for all students. So again, this has kind of been over a decade in the making with many people's contributions and working with amazing people across many schools. So basically, how this all started was visiting lots of schools to improve learning, that heavy focus on learning first, and to check learning is before technology on their plan, on their strategic plan. Some people will have a technology plan or a technology for learning plan or a learning plan at school. Again, it's about focusing, making sure that all of the considerations have taken place about what the students need to learn, why they are learning, in the way and the approach that they are before that technology is selected carefully to really add value to any learning experience. Lesson observations, countless lesson observations for myself. Again, being a computer science teacher now for 20 years, I've been very fortunate enough to work in many departments, many schools, and have taught lots of different lessons across, from early years all the way through to year 13, IBDP, computer science. So again, and this is something firsthand that I can share with you from my experience, and again, being fortunate to share many experiences from my colleagues as well. Policy improvement and advice, effective CPD for all staff, CPD training for principals, evaluate CPD for schools, and follow-up visits, plans, and best practice. So these are the areas that I've been through. So learning before technology, why, when, and where, to help educators choose an effective use of technology to enhance and transform learning. We're going to start off with the SAMR model. I normally ask at this point if anybody has heard of the SAMR model. A few people might have kind of heard of this. It's a very popular model that sometimes gets shared a lot on social media and referred to quite a bit when selecting tasks and learning opportunities when using technology. But before that, I'm going to start off with a little bit of a story. I remember visiting the classroom in a school, and it was about, again, a collaborative experience to try and help improve the use of technology in the school. I remember it was a mathematics lesson in primary. I was sitting observing, and the teacher was amazing. She had kind of everything set up, wanted to do very, very well. I've been into many, many lessons, many schools, and I remember the whiteboards and pens were on the table in this maths lesson, and the teacher asked a question about angles and weighted. And then the students took out the iPads, obviously that the students had just purchased. The school obviously had invested quite a bit in technology, and the students opened the iPad minis. You opened, unlocked, selected the app, then set the format, then kind of drew an answer and lifted up the device, and then had an answer on the device. So that whole process from asking the question to then using the tech took, I think, at least 12 seconds, if not longer. The teacher was very, very happy. I've just put kind of a random picture in there to show you, but the teacher was really happy. She wanted to do very, very well. She was excited to use the technology. She could see that it had potential. She just needed help to unlock that potential of using the technology. I remember sitting down with her as we kind of talked through the lesson, and she was talking a lot about the lesson, and we talked about the SAMR model, and quickly she identified that this was substitution. Now, the SAMR model, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, substitution is highlighted. Now, this is the first stage of the SAMR model. So if we are using technology to substitute straight into the learning, if we basically say there's going to be no functional change to the task, but we're just going to substitute technology directly into the learning, like was kind of explained with the maths lesson, then that's a substitution kind of use of the technology. As we can see, if the teacher instruction was supplemented with a video that clarifies a particular hard to explain concept, adding functional change to the task, then basically it moves from substitution to augmentation. You've added a functional change to the task, and you've helped kind of improve the use of the technology. So it's not a direct substitution. You've added something to the task that wasn't previously there. Modification. So a technological tool that makes an abstract concept visible in a hands-on, responsive, where like Google Earth to understand measurement angles, in geography to measure locations, time lapse. The Voyager data sketch is a great example to significantly redesign the task. So again, it's not just directly substituting, it's not just adding directly to that task. It's basically making an abstract concept visible. It's significantly redesigned the task. So this was a task that was completely different from the original task, and it's enhanced that learning. And then the last stage, the redefinition. This is having students publish their work online where it can be viewed by peers and the broader community, creating an entirely new learning opportunity. So we've moved from substitution directly using the tool, technology as a tool, to substitute directly in the learning, to then basically adding to that task modification through to redefinition, an entirely new learning opportunity. So let's just take a quick look at those again. So we looked at having technology to directly substitute, substitution, no change in the overall task. And then the teacher instruction was supplemented. So there was a functional change to the task. The technology added a function to the task that was previously not there. So it helped in a way. Modification was significantly redesigning the task. So this is adding, again, a tool to the task that has changed and redesigned the task. And then redefinition, entirely new learning opportunity for the students. And as we can see, the student in this example can create an online, the right angle podcast to talk about their learning experience, connect with others, share with others, talk through and master the skills that they have learned in class to accelerate their learning, to then learn at their own pace, to get the support and the challenge that they need, and then also to access further scaffolded help if they need. So I was very happy. I was very happy at this point. We talked through and we kind of, she understood and give examples as well. This all come from the teacher who, again, was just amazing, really keen to do well. And she enjoyed looking at the SAMR model. And then basically, as I'm going to share in the presentation, she then started looking at other tasks and how she could really take tasks through the SAMR model. So learning before technology, research technology integration models. The SAMR model, as we've just been through, this is the official kind of diagram. SAMR model consists of 4 steps: substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. So we've just been through having students substitute using technology. So examples, having students type their work instead of handwriting it, uploading a worksheet in PDF for students to access as opposed to photocopying. And for me personally, I mentioned I was a computer science teacher at heart. I always think about the teachers in this particular kind of area, because if you are substituting just using technology for the sake of it, then basically you need to ask yourself, what will you or the students gain from the use of technology? Because if you think about your time, your effort, how much kind of comfort you've taken through this, because you might have to work more, you have to work longer, you might have to put more in to get the same outcome for the students. In the bottom of each slide, I've put a link so you can click on the hyperlinks to learn more about it. Again, the SAMR model is illustrated in the diagram in front of us, looking at substitution first and augmentation. And as I mentioned, the two words that are kind of down the outside of the diagram, enhancement and transformation. So when we look at working through the SAMR model, we look at enhancing the learning and transforming the learning. And that's the whole point from my kind of perspective, using technology. It's all about making sure that we use technology in a powerful way. And as you can see in the redefinition, it highlights technology allows the creation of new tasks previously inconceivable. Now, we're not going to aim for redefinition in every single task that we do. And that is something that I've always been really clear with. But it gives us a very kind of straightforward roadmap to use technology. We don't want to see technology just used as a substitute all of the time, just for the sake of it. And we don't want teachers to constantly have to think, how do they redefine learning every single curriculum point, curriculum map from different exam boards across the world. That is not the point of this. The point is to think how and when technology can be used to add value to the learning, to really enhance and transform. And if it's being used for the sake of it, then to remove that, because we need to balance out the teacher's time with making sure that when technology is used, it is used for a purpose. If there's something that we can use in an easier, quicker, as impactful way without the technology, we do that. So technology should be selected and used purposefully. This is a further diagram, one that I think starts from a natural conversation, as I illustrated in the example with the maths teacher. Suddenly she started thinking about lots of different tasks that she could do, and then how she could transform and enhance the learning of all those different tasks. So not every single task in class, but a lot of class tasks could be used in a way where the technology is actually adding something to the task. So note-taking, research, presentation, file sharing, reading, assessment. She looked at how much time, effort, and how impactful it was, what she was doing in class, and then looked at, could she hit maybe augmentation, modification, or even redefinition with some of those tasks. And again, it's about making sure that she just wasn't using the technology for the sake of it. She wasn't just saying today we're just going to work off, the iPad minis or the laptops. She was really thinking carefully about the selection of technology for the task. So that's an interesting diagram to share in a team and to talk through, because it could be in your key stage team, in your group team, or your kind of your team at school. You might say, actually, what we are going to do is we are going to use redefinition for when we research. But in other areas, we're going to use more of a modification or augmentation. And that's great. And again, that collaborative planning will only add to the overall impact of what you were doing in class. So I think it's very important that you can then explain why you were using technology. There's a reason behind it. And I think that's very powerful, because then you know that some class tasks listed down in the green, you think actually the IT can really bring that task alive. We can redesign completely, have a new kind of tasks that you couldn't imagine previously. But now with the technology, we can do something new in new ways. Very powerful. Learning before technology, schools research data and published findings. So I've actually written a paper and finished lots of presentations and been a keynote speaker on technology. And I'm very happy to share, the findings from my published paper and also the overall kind of data from working with schools. So staff are confident on choosing the right tool in the classroom. 75%. They believe they know how, why, and when technology should be used in the classroom. 61%. And 57% can articulate what effective use of technology in the classroom is. Staff can identify the correct use of technology with the SAMR model. They evaluate the use of technology in class, 51%. and show higher interest, 81%, in discussing the use and planning for the use before it is adapted in the classroom. Staff see technology as beneficial tool for learning, 69%. State they require more training, 74%, and more professional development on learning and the use of technology. Schools have tech plans, including how technology is evolving. More staff can articulate what tech should be able to do. So the overall findings is very, very interesting. Very interesting. The fact that, that staff know how to choose the right tool. They can identify the correct use of technology, but they do need further training. So 74% still say that they need further training by using technology. So again, it's heading in the right direction. The technology you use impresses no one. The experience you create with it is everything. That's a fantastic quote. Then before technology, questions to ask before you use technology. Now, we talked about selecting technology, and we talked about making sure that we follow models to then kind of think through powerful ways of using technology. But even before the type of technology selected, going right back to the start, one of the things that I think has been absolutely a game changer for me personally in schools is about creating questions to ask before using technology. Now, these questions are very powerful when people create them themselves. Alan November visited the school I worked at previously, and he had a set of questions that transform learning. And we were creating our own questions because every school is different. We were creating our own questions to then look at how technology is used before we actually finish our planning, before we actually think about the type of technology. So again, right back to the start in the planning stage, is the tech safe to use? Have I started with the purpose and learning rather than the tech? Does it open up deeper lines of thought and inquiry? Does it develop problem solving and critical thinking skills? Does it promote a global perspective and understanding? Where does it fit in with a SAMR model? Does it allow students to access this tech? Very important. Does it allow personalized learning? Does it allow students to publish their work and get feedback globally? Does it allow students to connect with others from around the world? I find these questions fascinating, and I think that these questions can really bring all staff together, and you could create a bank of 8, 10, 12 questions that really kind of help everybody before technology is selected in school. So test your own level of innovation. If you answer no to all 6 questions when evaluating the design of assignments and student work, then chances are that technology is not really being applied in the most innovative ways. The questions we ask to evaluate implementation, design, innovation are critical, transformational 6. So these 6 questions are wonderful questions to start with. Again, put the link at the bottom. Did the assignment build capacity for critical thinking on the web? Did the assignment develop new lines of inquiry? Are there opportunities for students to make their own thinking visible? Are there opportunities to broaden the perspective of the conversation with authentic audiences from around the world? Is there an opportunity for students to create a contribution, purposeful work? And does this assignment demo best of the world examples of content and skill? Touch of Alan November working with some of the students in our school. Technology is just a tool in terms of getting the kids working together and motivating them. The teacher is the most important. Bill Gates. So learning before technology, content and pedagogical for a foundation. So this is the TPACK model. And the TPACK model is the technological, pedagogical, and content knowledge aspects. And this is a fascinating model. For those of you that have heard of the SAMR model previously, then this is a good model for you to then kind of move to and have a look at as well. So it looks at how all of those areas, all those aspects can be used together. The TPACK framework outlines how content, what is being taught, and pedagogy, how the teacher imparts that content, must form the foundation for any effective EdTech integration. This order is important because the technology must be implemented. It must communicate the content and support the pedagogy in order to enhance the student's learning experience. I think that's a wonderful example, building on what we've been talking through about looking at the learning first. So the order is important because the technology is being implemented. It must communicate the content and support the pedagogy in order to enhance the student's learning experience. So I think it's a fascinating way, again, of talking through what we've done. Technology will never replace great teachers, but in the hands of great teachers, it's transformational. Learning before technology, new things in new ways, not trivial. So Mark Prensky, this is a wonderful extra piece of kind of research to look through as well. That we can do things now in new ways brings relatively little, at least new to education, which may be why so many teachers resist using technology for these traditional academic tasks. Yes, the modern ways are faster and better for those who know how to do them, but they are a little different in their essence from what we did before. The underlying principles remain the same. I call those uses of technology trivial. They are trivial technology uses in that they are nothing new. All of these skills we know about and have taught before. Contrast that, if you will, with the kinds of things that students could never do before. They could never before connect face to face in real time with people outside of the classroom, whether peers or experts. They could never before post a question and get answers and perspectives from peers around the world within a day or even hours. They could never before survey hundreds of thousands, millions of people on an issue, new things in new ways. So the role of technology in education that truly helps our kids is empowerment, being able to do the new and powerful things and not just doing old things in new ways. Mark Prensky. Evaluate an effective PD. This is a list, again, I've come back to a lot of times, possibly in other videos about professional development. But if you were creating your professional development plan, or if a colleague is looking into or responsible for professional development, then if you look at the Guskey kind of model of measuring the evaluation of effective professional development, this is an absolute go-to. So it looks at 5 different levels: participants' reaction, did they like it, find it helpful, is it time well spent? Looking at participants' learning, did they acquire new skills and new knowledge, and have you checked that? Organization support and change, did they get enough support, resources, were there any problems with all of the professional development? And the participants' use of new knowledge and skills, how has this been applied and how has it been measured and what's the impact of this? And then looking at the students, the student learning outcomes, has the professional development, has it impacted on the performance, the achievement, or the confidence of the students? This for me is a real important takeaway and something that is essential in any professional development plan. Learning before technology, takeaways. So here are the 5 takeaways. A starting point for you to explore a model to check the use of technology. Shared with you a SAMR model. I think that's a very, very good accessible model for everybody to look at with their substitution, augmentation, modification, redefinition of learning. Plan your own powerful questions before you start. All teachers can get involved in that. Look at the vision of your school, the mission of your school, the approach of teaching and learning. What 6, 8, 10, 12 questions are very important to you as a group of staff in your community, and then have a kind of an alignment with those questions before you start planning the use of technology. Learning first, not technology. So it's always learning before technology. And again, looking at that TPACK model. And if we remember, it was about getting the pedagogical pedagogical and content first before the technology was going to be used. And then challenge beyond trivial tech use by Prensky and create a CPD plan, effective measures for its impact with Guskey, which is those kind of 5 levels of professional development. So a lot to look at, but I think overall, if you have a model, if you create questions before the use of the model, if you create a plan and look at learning first before technology, and if you making sure that you looking beyond the trivial tech use and looking at new ways of learning, like Prensky mentioned, and also looking at a CPD plan with an effective kind of measure, the Guskey approach, I think that you've got an exciting start for a learning plan, or a technology for learning plan, or a learning before technology plan. Okay, thank you very much for joining me today. Lots of information and a fascinating topic, which I'm sure we could talk longer about. I really appreciate you joining me for this video. If you have any questions, please just reach out and contact me on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or even on LinkedIn as well. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.